Good afternoon, everyone. This is Naijha Wright-Brown reporting on Jane Unchained News Network. I am so excited about our topic today and the guests that we have on the panel. Again, my name is Naijha Wright-Brown reporting. I'm co-owner of the Land of Kush, executive director of the Black Vegetarian Society. And thank you, Jane, for giving us this platform to have this discussion. We have three of the five guests on right now. So we're still waiting for two, but while we're waiting, I'm going to get started with reading their bios so we know who we have on the live broadcast today. Sha'Von Terrell is a rising and inspiring voice in the Black food and land sovereignty community. She is the granddaughter of former farmers who have undergone economic exploitation, environmental racism, and spiritual devastation through systems of oppression. As the Food Sovereignty Fellow, congratulations, with the Black Church Food Security Network, Sha'Von manages a local market that steers thousands of dollars in support towards Black farmers and small business owners. She travels the country organizing and consulting with anchor institutions such as colleges, universities, churches, and grassroots organizations. Through this work, she advances local self-reliance in the food system. She holds a Master of City and Regional Planning from Morgan State University, the mighty Morgan State, and a Bachelor's of Science in Political Science from Tuskegee University. Thank you for joining us today, Sha'Von.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. Crystal Foreman is owner director of Holistic Wellness and Health. She's a passionate health and wellness educator who uses a plant-based approach to focus on disease prevention education and health and wellness outreach programs. Her whole person approach focuses on the mind, the body, and the spirit, and integrates health, fitness, and wellness to improve the quality of life for all beings. She offers healthy plant-based cooking classes, wellness workshops, health coaching, gardening consultation, and meditation, which is important right now with what we're going through. Crystal also works to improve food justice, food sovereignty, and sustainable food access. In addition to a Master of Public Health and Master of Health Administration degrees, Crystal is a certified permaculture designer and a certified Baltimore City Master Gardener. Thank you for joining us today, Crystal.
Thank you for having me.
And Keith is coming in virtually from Seattle, Washington. He is the founder of Hip Hop is Green. He is a committed community activist and businessman for over 25 years, and he's worked hundreds of businesses, youth groups, and community organizations throughout the years. He has worked with many icons in the entertainment business as a promoter, activist, and culture builder. He spearheaded protests against the stereotyping of hip-hop artists and mentored many youth over the years. In 2009, he held the first hip-hop green dinner in history. And since then, he's created the first national plant-based hip-hop organization in the world, and has assembled the largest team of hip-hop artists and educators in the world, all with the goal of bringing health and wellness to youth and facilities around the country. In 2005, he was the architect of the Hip Hop is Green Tour, the first ever national plant-based hip-hop tour in history. And in 2016, he created and authored the 10th element of hip-hop, which is health and wellness, adding a new element in the hip-hop culture. He has also been recognized by Michelle Obama Partnership for a Healthier America. Thank you for joining us today, Keith.
Thank you for having me.
Having all of you. There was an article that was released on April 15th, and I'm going to share that article because that's going to be the basis of our discussion about plant-based lifestyle being the way and how do we pivot. So if you bear me one moment, I want to share what I'm looking at. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So Black vegans change health disparity amid global pandemic. So basically what this article is telling us is healthy eating and lifestyle changes can slow COVID-19 deaths. Would you agree with that? Is that your perspective and understanding? Do you want to comment on that? Anybody?
Sure, I'll go in. Of course. I mean, that's something that is a natural that, being healthy and living a healthy lifestyle is something that can slow the deaths in our community. We have cancer, heart attack, diabetes, stroke, all these issues that we've been dealing with for many years. And that leads us to be susceptible to many diseases and things like that. So if we can have healthy communities that are understanding that health and wellness is one of the most primary things, if not the most primary thing that we need to have, then, our communities could be strong and really focusing on, the issues of health and wellness and, making sure that we don't have to go to doctors and start taking prescriptions and getting on that stuff. So, so that's what I got to say about it.
You want to add to that, Crystal?
Yeah, I think just making sure like we're eating a very balanced diet, making sure we're getting all of the vitamins and nutrients we have, like that we need, making sure we're eating all of the colors of the rainbow. It definitely improves our immune system and it improves our gut health, which is very important for our immune system as well as our mental health. And so a lot of people are very stressed right now, and that can have an adverse effect on your immune system as well. And communities of color in general have a higher stress level, just being like living in a country that like every day you're hearing something negative in the news. So just being here and being alive and listening to what's going on can cause stress. So just making sure that you're taking the time to take self-care for yourself and eating a healthy diet. I think that's what we need to promote to the community in general. And that takes a team effort for everyone. Everyone has different expertise. So just making sure that we all come together and help our communities, making sure we have healthy access to food that's accessible to everyone, and and making sure that the disparities are eliminated. Yeah.
Sha'Von, you're growing food. You're growing your own food through the church food security network. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with what the sentiments that were shared. Actually, the Black Church Food Security Network was created because access to healthy food was a problem. And we understand that that's a problem across many Black communities. And the anchor, just to give you like a brief summary, the anchor of many communities are Black churches in a lot of ways. And a lot of the Black churches have the resources to really provide healthy food options to their community, either through growing food or hosting like farmers markets on church-owned land. So that's where much of our work is rooted, in partnering with Black churches and encouraging them to reimagine their assets and using the assets that they have available to advance food sovereignty, to advance food security in Black communities.
Thank you for that. And I have a question about the participation of the Black churches, but we'll get to the questions after I go through some key points in this article. So we just celebrated the National Minority Health Month in April, right? And the health disparities in COVID-19 are at the forefront of pandemic news. This article goes on to share analysis of available data and census demographics that illustrates that counties where majority Blacks have 3 times the rate of infections and almost 6 times the rate of death as counties where white residents are a majority. What is it going to take for us to really drill this message down to our community? Because we still have this issue where folks are at the belief that vegan food or plant-based food isn't real food. How do we respond to that? Like if you're not eating an animal, egg, cheese, meat, fish, where we don't even know if this is real stuff, and we don't even know, but you have to eat an animal in order for it to be considered real food. How are you responding to that when you hear this?
Yeah, just sharing that, like, when you're eating, fruits and veggies in general, that's real food. Eating grains, whole grains, like, we're eating that stuff on a regular basis. And that if you just look at our history and look at where other African descendants are from and where they are, most of the diets are plant-based to begin with. And so that concept of having a meat at every single meal is a new concept in human history, really, but especially in African American communities. There was a time when people couldn't really even afford meat, so they ate what was available. And so the concept that you have to have meat, or that the only thing that is food would be meat or animal byproducts in general, is a conditioning that needs to be changed. I see change all the time. I'm going out to communities and actually talking to people and educating and letting them actually taste healthy, delicious, plant-based food. Yeah. And so I think that education part, and actually going out into the communities, having people that look like the communities actually go out to the communities and, veganize food that they're familiar with, make those greens, still smoky and delicious, but without those ham hocks, and let them taste it and know that it's delicious. It doesn't have to have any other products just to, enhance the flavors. There are so many other ways. Spices are important. So, using spices to enhance that food, because quite frankly, chicken can be nasty and bland if it's not, done right. So that's with all food. And for me, just conditioning people that animals are not food. And so that's how I kind of look at it, as that's not even something. Like, people ask me, well, how can you not eat whatever it is? And it's like, well, for me, that's not food. And so it's not even an option anymore. It would be the same as, like, some people get upset with people who eat dogs. I'm like, yeah, that's an animal, just like, a pig is an animal. So just letting them, like, change that mindset of what food really is, stuff that comes from the earth, that you can actually plant and, touch from the earth, versus, something that is manufactured just in weird ways. And just the whole animal agriculture is a whole nother story. But yeah, just letting them know that, real food is food that comes from the earth.
Right, and it's the animal agriculture is doing a lot of damage to the climate, environment, and everything. And this is why we're in this pandemic, right? If you talk to anybody, the wet markets and things like that, animals are causing the diseases. So why manufacture this type of food if this is the outcome of it? Sha'Von, Keith, you want to add to that? Vegan food is real food.
Yeah. So, our approach has just been what Crystal kind of touched on, is going out and educating the community about what the food is. Black folks, generally, when you tell them about vegan food, they have misconceptions about it, about how it tastes, how it's seasoned. They don't know how to cook the food. They don't know where to go get it. All of these things are roadblocks for them to address and be open to having a vegan lifestyle. So our approach at Hip Hop is Green is just basically to serve those meals and have them taste the food and eat it. And, we, as you know, Naijha, we've done over 8,000 meals all around America in places in different cities where people really didn't think that vegan food was good. And, they come to one of our Hip Hop is Green events, they try food, and it just blows their mind. And then that opens the door for change in our communities. And so I have many stories throughout the years. We've been doing this for 11 years. And I have many stories of people that have changed and adopted a plant-based lifestyle just from coming to our events. So that's the best.
October for the Baltimore Housing Authority. Talk about that.
Yeah. We just did. What was it, in October, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
we
just did a Hip Hop Green dinner in Baltimore with the Land of Kush and the Black Vegetarian Society and the Baltimore Housing Department. It was a wonderful event. We had many people show up. There was a lady that came there that she was in a walker. You remember her, Naijha? She was in a walker. Yeah. She had a neck brace on too.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how she had diabetes and her health wasn't really good. So I really spend time talking to people like that come to our events. And we were talking about just making baby steps into her adopting a vegan diet. So we were talking about basically just getting off dairy, and so that's a good step for people to try to adopt a plant-based diet, is just get yourself off of dairy. And so it's
Down with Dairy Month right now. It's anti-dairy month now, right? So down with dairy, dump dairy, say no to dairy, dairy free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, long story short, she after the event happened, she was open to dumping dairy. So anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Sha'Von, I'm
yes.
going to introduce Farajii that just came on.
Okay, I can add to that really quickly.
Okay.
So on one side, I'm not vegan, so I.
Okay, we're not going to jump you.
but much of our work is rooted in meeting people where they are. For our organization, it's not necessarily a question of to eat me or not to eat me. It's a question of how is your food grown? How is your food processed? Like, is it grown with pesticides? Do it have steroids in it? How is it processed? Do it have like additives in it? If so, let's eat clean. And let's eat straight from the garden, eat straight from the farm, and communicate with our farmers in that way and ask those specific questions.
Thank you for that. Hey, Farajii, I gave you a shout out. That's okay. We know you got the bait. Let me tell you, I know all about it. So we don't even want to hear it. Let me get to the bio. I don't want to hear all the excuses. So Farajii Muhammad is a media personality with the special skills of community organizing and non-professional management, and he hails from Baltimore, Maryland too. In 1999, Farajii co-founded the New Leadership Learning Center at the age of 19 years old. It can be done, okay? Farajii has 20 years of experience working with young people and has centered his many missions and initiatives around one simple concept, and that's redefining leadership for the next generation and especially for the Black community. Currently, Farajii is the host of the Associated Press award-winning daily news and cultural show For the Culture that airs on public radio 88.9 WEAA FM at Morgan State University, and they are the voice of the community. On For the Culture, Farajii has discussed many topical issues from politics and education to health and Black arts and culture. So he is doing a phenomenal job, and it's just so much. His bio is like 2 pages. Multiple conversations on his show about this topic. He's been to the Vegan Soul Fest. He's been to the Baltimore Hip Hop Green Dinner. He's been to the Keep It Fresh Fest. So, Farajii,
yes,
questions we were asking here that you can catch up on, because we went through the article, so we got the link to the article. Thank you for sending me that. We're on the question of folks not identifying vegan or plant-based food as actual food. You have to be eating an animal in order for it to be food. What is your response to that? And also to the health disparities based on that article that are going on right now during this pandemic, and the fact that we need to be eating more healthy and not animal products or byproducts.
First and foremost, again, Naijha, I want to thank you and for the invitation. I apologize for my lateness, just being a dad, but, again, I apologize. But I'm very familiar with the work of all of our wonderful panelists here today. Veganism is very important to me, and it's a big deal because I actually accepted being a vegan a little bit over, it's about a year and a half now. Prior to this transition, I was a vegetarian. And, Naijha, I talked to you probably, many times where I said, well, even in my vegetarianism, I didn't feel like I was making the type of healthy strides that I really wanted to make. I was still eating a lot of the processed food, some of this, just a lot of the processed food. And so when I turned to veganism, even then it was still like weaning me off. Like I started to eat more foods like Beyond Meat and the Impossible Burgers and all of those things. However, the issue became where I literally started getting sicker and I was gaining a lot more weight. And I went to the doctors back in February and they said my blood pressure was like super high. They're like, yeah, you're vegan, but you got high blood pressure. You know, we got to work on it. And I was like, and blood pressure, unfortunately, runs in my family. And so I was thinking to myself, man, how is that? Then I started to look at the products that I was eating. And a lot of that products, even though they're plant-based, it was very, very high in sodium. And so I decided to remove that. And I literally started to feel the difference. Like, you know, I started getting less headaches and I started to feel less grouchy and, you know, and less sluggish and lethargic. And so I read up on whole food plant-based veganism. And that is something that I started to, you know, I saw a magazine in the store and I picked it up and it was like, eat whole food plant-based vegan. And I was like, what is that? What am I doing now then? Like, there's another level to this thing. Like, I didn't get that. But but then when I started to read about it and really started to look into it, it was essentially like what Sha'Von mentioned, eating clean food. Eating food clean in such a way where it removes all of the process and the pesticides and everything else. And so I talked to my wife about it and I was like, I'm going to try this. And at first it was really hard, but then I started to, you know, remove some of the oils from a lot of my food, started eating more vegetables, removing some of the quote unquote fake meat and everything out of my diet. And I realized that that's the way that it has to happen. Now, the thing about veganism, which I'm learning for myself, is that you still need, you know, some vitamins you still need. So like the B12s and everything, you still need that, but you got to veganism is about, for me, it's about learning what your body is all about. You have to figure out how is your body working, you know, and it's something else. As Black people, we know that certain foods destroy our body. I mean, right. It could come down to milk. It could come down to meat. It could come down to any type of dairy. It could come to pork, anything. We know certain foods destroy the body. But we have this cultural kind of like switch in our heads that says, I know it's bad. I know it's bad. But at the same time, it tastes so good. And that's the conundrum we find ourselves in. So when it comes down to like real foods, I think one, there needs to be a really an education about the value and the benefit of real food. But then two, there also needs to be this kind of just remove some of the stigma from around it. Like real food don't talk about, you know, making you looking all skinny and sick and all of those things. It's like there has to be a reorientation to our understanding about food, because just as much as we say food is about eating to live, food is also a driver for our emotions. There's certainly it's a driver for when we're happy, when we're sad, our moods. I mean, food is a way for us to come together. We see fast foods, they kind of play off of that. You know what I mean? McDonald's right. Doesn't sell food. They sell you the experience while eating their food. So it's like food, folks, and fun. You know what I mean? So it's always right. About the experience. So there's a lot of messages that we have to kind of retaught on understanding about the value of real food and getting people to think twice about it. Like Sha'Von said, and I love it, clean eating. I mean, I'm still a baby in this process when I'm learning about clean eating. But I mean, I love it because it really does make a difference. You just got to know how your body operates, and your body will go through some changes. Trust and believe, because if you've been eating meat for 35 years and you started going vegan for 1 year, it's not going to be the same. You know,
right, because some folks' bodies are in such a way that they can't even process real foods anymore. You know? So yeah, we just lost Farajii, but to his point, you know, some folks that you run into, they can't even eat the plant-based foods. You know, they eat broccoli or whatever. I mean, Crystal, can you speak to that? Because I run into a lot of people who have that issue. Like, why is that? You know, because at this point, with the meat concerns and the scarcity of meat and the food production issues, you know, veganism is going to grow because of this. How do we pivot people into, you know, this lifestyle without, you know, how do we approach that? Because we have to still educate.
Definitely. So for some people, it's a matter of detoxing. Their colons are so encrusted with mucus and all types of other products, like just a lot of waste, that they actually can't absorb the nutrients from the food. And so for some people, it just takes a little time. Some people will have gastric distress from eating beans and broccoli because their body's just not used to it. And so just taking smaller steps for certain foods and getting their body acclimated to it until they can do a detox, whether it's a 3-6 month detox where they're just eating a lot of cold foods, or if they're actually like, look, I want this done, and they do like a more intense juicing and smoothies. But it does take some time for some people who have been eating a very heavy meat diet, and then all of a sudden they make that change. They might feel some discomfort. I say, that discomfort is temporary. Keep pushing through. Get some support. There are a lot of different vegan support groups out there. There's African American vegan support groups on Facebook and other platforms as well if you're not on Facebook. So there are ways to find support, get that knowledge as well, because it can be discouraging when you're not feeling well. Some people like just doing anything.
Right, you don't want to be sick. I mean, we had a guy on the other show who was commenting that said, vegans are malnutrition, and he had all these issues when he went vegan, his gut issues, he lost his hair, teeth, and all of that. So
I would say for someone like that,
something like that, like, what do you recommend? Because a lot of us I transitioned over a couple of years to plant-based diet. So I can tell the changes that I went through. Like, how does someone do this right in this society where everything is like, go see your doctor, or like, you want to add anything, Sha'Von?
Yeah.
Especially with the children, people are concerned.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that we always say, and we have, just like Crystal said, we have so much information working with people on how it is when people do go vegan. But I think, one of the biggest issues is people don't know how to cook the food. People don't know what the food is. They don't know what to eat or anything. And so that's a really serious education that I think if people are willing to eat, at least try to go plant-based, then they need to be informed on what to eat and how to prepare it and all of this stuff. So I think if we can all get together and figure out a good way to where people can go, either it's online or they're going to a live event or whatever, so that people can know, okay, well, this is what I'm eating for breakfast today. I'm vegan. This is what I'm eating for breakfast today. Let me show y'all how to prepare it. Let me show you guys what the ingredients are and where I bought it, how much it costs, all of that stuff. You know what I mean? And I think we should do that for every single meal so that people can understand exactly how to do it, So that's my piece.
If just very quick, this is Naijha. I think that, and to add to what Brother Keith was making a point of, that part about teaching our people, teaching our people is it has to be institutionalized. One of the things, for example, the organization PHCHA, when they had heard that Chef Ramsay from television, had made a comment that because of the coronavirus, that it looks like folks might really look into veganism, and they thanked him. They thanked him for that. Then he started to institutionalize vegan recipes in his restaurant and started to do some things. So my thing is that if we're talking about institutionalizing veganism, and I'm literally saying, for example, if in City Hall, they have a group or an agency that deals with food. in the schools and food for the city, why wouldn't they not include veganism as part of that process?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Institutionalize it, like, and I'm saying it from a policy standpoint, where we can start to conversation. Because, like you, Naijha, I mean, you and your husband, y'all go. I mean, y'all travel Baltimore City. Y'all ripping and running. You the vet. You know, you are the quote unquote the representative for all things vegan, and you shouldn't be that way. I mean, look. I mean, unless you want to do it.
No, I need some help.
But if you were to sit down and to come up with a health and wellness committee, a health and wellness commission that would talk to the mayor, that meets with the mayor or the city council, once a month, and start the process to institutionalize veganism into all of the other diets. Because now it's veganism. People are lactose intolerant. People are gluten free. So let's not act like, we all eat the same way nowadays. There has to be an evolution in this process. And I think that if it's done from a political standpoint, just as much as done from a social standpoint, that the message would get across a lot stronger.
And I'm glad you said that, Farajii, because it's great timing, because we have our next guest, and I'm going to read his bio in a second, because we've had discussions, and we were actually on a call with an organization that wanted us to endorse a letter that went to the USDA about getting more healthier foods in the schools, because, they're donating food now to the children because of the pandemic, but a lot of the food that they're donating is not good food. So let me introduce Willie Flowers. Thank you for coming on, Willie. He serves as the executive director of the Park Heights Community Health Alliance and was recently elected president of the NAACP Maryland State Conference. In his position at Park Heights Community Health Alliance, he has implemented a food access program called Urban Oasis that includes the Growing Food Together CSA of PHCHA Community Teaching Garden. Park Heights Community Health Alliance has hosted the Brassica Fest, a community conference that promotes locally grown food, sustainability, and environmental food justice. Urban Oasis produces up to 10,000 pounds of food, which is grown on 1.5 acres of land and distributes to families in the Park Heights community. And Willie also does a lot of other things out of the Park Heights Community Health Alliance. And you're just joining the discussion. And Willie, we were on the phone a week or so ago talking about the whole political, platform of this. And I've always talked about, there needs to be some type of mandate to get people on board with this. What are your thoughts? What is the ceiling? What is stopping all of this, to Farajii's point?
Well, I mean, everybody knows that money drives everything. In my lifetime, and I guess everybody here, we've seen the Natural Food Expo, for example, go from a small little place to a huge event, because a lot of the products that were originally kind of like ideas, they become commercial. And that commercialization, hopefully, will be able to influence the politicians, because, Big Pharma is at play. Every grocery store is at play. McDonald's is at play, and all the franchises that go with it. They've been paying politicians for years. So unless we can come together and create a grassroots movement to articulate that this food is killing us, that the pharmaceutical drugs are not working, that the list goes on. There's a breakdown in social determinants of health at every level. Children are not getting nutrients, so they can't operate. So when we put all that together as a one huge disparity, not just for the African-American or Black and African-American community, but for the world, it's going to be a challenge. But it's going to take, unfortunately, tactics like those to highlight that if we work a food system that mitigates these health challenges, we'll have a better world. And that's not happening now. What's happening now is we're using those disparities to allow mainstream organizations to appeal for what happens on the back end: mental health, obesity, every health disparity you can name. And when they get this money, they don't do anything. So it's on us to highlight this. It is a macro problem that takes micro solutions, but we got to be at all levels. We got to be in the food space. We have to be in the mindfulness space. All this has to work together to highlight the challenges. But when we do all that in these silos, we got to come together to advocate for the change and funding that's needed.
So I want to get out of this talk. What is a unified approach that we can all take to pivot this? Now, Keith is the only one that's not from Baltimore, but he has a chapter in Baltimore. He has chapters all across a lot of the major cities. You know, you're like New York, New Jersey, New York. How do we do something unified? So we have the fest, we have the dinners. What else do we need to move forward with this? Because are the fest helping? Are the dinners helping? The cooking demos online. What else do we? Because it sounds like we have to continue our discussion in Annapolis or at the White House. Like, what is the action plan?
I think the festival, everything is happening at the micro level is good because individuals, as we know, can say that something at the Brassica Fest, something at the Vegan Soul Fest has changed people's lives. The work that Crystal does has changed people's lives. But when you're doing these events, we need to begin to create lists and operationalize those lists so that we can go to Annapolis, so we can go to Washington, so we can go to the Baltimore City Council and all of the state legislators or county legislators in the state, so we can, be on all fronts. We're not doing that, but we need to. And we have enough talent to do it. We have enough innovative people.
We're talking about the email list.
Email list, whatever it is. Email list. If we have you had the Vegan Soul Fest, you had over 10,000 people. You should be taking names and saying, this is a call to action in the month, between January and April, we need you to come to Annapolis. In the year 2020, there's an election for mayor. There's an election 2 years later for state legislator. We need people mobilized so that we can say that this is important to us, because talking about murders in the street is not enough, but talking about what the solution is to keep people from being, insane and experiencing this self-loathing is something that we can handle at the micro level. And again, we're not connecting all those dots.
I think yes, just to add to what Brother Willie said very quickly, I think that the greatest call to action that we could probably take, at least from this conversation, is to identify, to determine how do we identify deputies or advocates, those individuals that can help. Brother Willie Flowers is in Wood Park Heights. He's working with a group of folks that are helping him. He's not a one-man show. Sha'Von is in Northeast Baltimore. She's working with the Black Church Food Security Network. She's not a one-woman show. And so the thing is like, how do we start to bring all of these folks together and we can become this group? I mean, I can remember, and this is a little bit off topic, but here in Baltimore City, former Mayor Catherine Pugh established the African American Male Engagement Office. Brand new office, right? A brand new office that specifically is designed on in getting Black men to live, essentially, and to engage them in a positive way, right? Just kind of putting that in a nutshell. So what's stopping us from creating a situation where we go to the decision makers, whether it's here locally or in Annapolis on the state level, and say, look, we have a group of about 25 people, list of names, and say, these are individuals that come from different walks of life, different socioeconomic backgrounds, but they got one common goal. And that goal is to provide health and wellness, and to start, not to downplay, not to say, oh, you eating like this, therefore you are savage, or something very diminished. We just totally beat up on our people. but to lift our people up, to engage them in such a way to say, okay, if you eat chicken, eat the best quality chicken. If you eat vegetables, get your vegetables from clean sources. And then we start to lift people's consciousness about food in general. We don't have to make them vegan because everybody's not going to get on that train. But we can enlighten them on how to eat better quality food. And so it can be a situation where we design it and we can go to the decision maker. I mean, right now, like you just said, Sister Naijha, we're about to elect a new mayor, city council president, comptroller, and city council members here in Baltimore City. That means that they are looking for some new ideas. And to have a commission, a committee, a group of citizens from the city that can have some conversations, we can literally redefine the food pyramid map. We can literally redefine the plate that's put on in front of our children in schools across this city and around this state and say, okay, you can eat this, but for those who are not able to eat this food, here are vegan choices, here are gluten-free choices, here are lactose intolerant choices, here are those who are pescatarians. I mean, we can kind of fill that niche because this is a new day and time, and it's mind-blowing that in 2020, you only got 3 places that you can go to that you can eat good vegan food or good this food or that food, and that's not acceptable.
And I also add this. I'll add this to it.
Let's hear from Crystal and Sha'Von and Keith.
Okay.
I can jump in. Oh, do you want to go, Keith?
Go ahead, Sha'Von. Go ahead.
Okay, I can just jump in really quickly because y'all are dropping gems on this webinar, and I appreciate being on the panel with you all. But one thing that I want to add is I think we should just define the problem really quickly. It's not necessarily a problem of our people don't want to eat healthy. It's a problem of having access to or control over our healthy food options. Right. And what things like the Black Church Food Security Network is working towards, we're working towards food sovereignty. And food sovereignty is giving the right and giving the power back to the people who consume the food, and allowing them to have every hand in every segment of the food system. I think like from the people that I interact with, from myself who's not vegan, like I want to eat healthier, but it's not necessarily saying like I want to switch over and be vegan right now. It's a question of where can I get my greens from? How can I get my greens without these pesticides? How can I get carrots? And I think that's what we're doing with our markets is like we're bringing those fresh food options directly to the communities through the interface of the Black church and by supplying these foods. Because I think like many of our communities are living in like food insecure areas. And we call those areas like food apartheid areas. And food insecurity did not happen overnight. Food insecurity happened because of redlining, grocery store redlining, because market demand is placing these fast food restaurants into Black communities. So in a lot of ways, it's like only thing that's available in the community are those fast food restaurants. And I think in regards of like what can we do, we can actually create like coalitions, like Willie said, like we can create coalitions to advance food sovereignty, to advance controlling our food system, because as long as we give the power to someone else, they will always define what healthy is for our communities.
Right, exactly. I'm glad you said that. Keith and then Crystal.
So I think that we have all the solutions that we need with all these people that are on the on this call today and more. I think that we should have a meeting together. I think we should outline all the issues that are facing our communities and come up with solutions and come up with a plan. We need to all get in the same room together and come up with a plan and work with each other together, because we're all working in silos right now. So let's all get together, work together, and come up with these solutions and like solutions to where do we go purchase our food? Is there at the church, do you guys provide food that people can go and purchase? Is there a store that we can go and purchase this from? And that creates economics in our community. What food should we eat and how should we present that food to the community? How should we promote what we're doing to the local government. How should we do that? Who should we talk to? All of these things should be listed in a plan that we come up with that's infallible, and so that's what we need to do, is just bring these minds together and create it. I'm doing that on a national level, right? I've got different cities where we're doing it in right now, and then I want to bring all this stuff together, nationally. So if we could work in Baltimore to do it, we got things going on in New Jersey, in New York, here in Seattle, so it's just working together. I think, a lot of people in our community are doing great work, but I don't never see us coming together and saying this organization is coming together with this organization and we're creating partnerships. So
I do that all the time. I'm probably one of the biggest collaborators. Every time I work on something, it has to be a collaboration. I can't, it's like there's just too many people out there. And I want to collaborate with everybody. So I always think when I'm doing something, who can I get involved with this? Because it's just not about me. There's other things going on. So we need to see a bigger collaboration on this.
Yeah, I collaborated with you several times, Naijha. What I'm saying is, yes, we need to collaborate together, but we also need to collaborate on creating a plan.
Oh yeah, that's what this meeting is about. That's why I just said we've all had conversations, with the exception of Sha'Von. I've talked to everybody on this call about things, and that's why we're having this conversation, because we got to make some moves. We got to make some moves. We understand what we're dealing with, but we got to come together, figure out what the action plan is, and let's get it started. And I love Farajii's idea, the way he laid it out. We need to do something. Crystal, what do you want to add to it? Because Crystal's been doing her thing online. She's been online and she want to cook with this stuff.
Yeah, so I have a partnership with Food Rescue Baltimore and the Farm Alliance of Baltimore. And so I do a lot of cooking demos throughout the communities. I go to a lot of communities that other people ignore. And so when Sha'Von brought up people want to eat healthy, I remember telling someone I was doing a cooking demo in Cherry Hill. And I was on with kids, and they were like, "Oh, that must have been hard. They're not going to want to eat that." Like I'm like, I've been doing this. They want to be healthy. They will eat and try pretty much anything you could present to them. I've had parents tell me, "Oh, my children don't eat bell peppers," and I'm like, "Yes, they do. they eat them raw, So if you give them the opportunity, give them access to that food, they want to be healthy. I've had kids eat okra, and I knew they weren't liking it too much, but they still ate it because I told them about the health benefits, and they wanted those health benefits. And so in some foods, it takes some time to get used to. I didn't like okra when I was a kid either. So just having that introduction and giving them an opportunity to continue to try new things. And that's for all age groups, because I also work with a lot of senior citizens. I'll actually be doing a class next week online, and it'll be like a class specifically for them. And we'll be taking fresh produce from our Baltimore City farmers to the location. I'll be showing them how to use that produce. So I think it's important to, like we all said, showing people how to use the produce and make foods that they're comfortable with and make it taste good. Make it easy. It has to be easy. And so when I do my cooking demos online, I show how to do 2 recipes in less than half an hour. When I do my cooking demos in the public, everything's quick and easy and accessible. I don't show them how to make, vegan mac and cheese and all that, make your own cheese and all that other stuff. That takes a little more time. So I do hands-on classes for that type of stuff. But just doing general education, people do want access. And then when they get the access, some people just need to know what to do with it. Because I've gone to food giveaways where certain things are left behind because they just don't know what to do with it.
Right. It's just an educational piece.
It
is.
We'll just get information out there.
Yeah.
And I think really quick, Naijha, if you think about it, what Crystal said, talking to children, adults are much harder to try to change their food habits. I think we all kind of see that happening.
Right.
But imagine if this group of us, and I'm just saying that loosely for right now, but imagine if you have some folks that would adopt a school, so to speak, where we have a conversation with the CEO of schools here in Baltimore and say, look, here is a nutrition plan. Can we possibly roll it out at a school to see if this is something that the school system would be interested in? And then, if we plan the meals of of a school for, you know, for 3 to 6 months or the first half of the year, whatever the case may be, to see how the children would pick up on the changing schools. Because let me tell you, my wife works in a school. Children don't eat lunch. What they do, eat snacks all day.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like I did that. I mean, and I went to a very good high school, but at the end, at some point, I was like, man, I'm not eating lunch. I mean, them crimpets. You know what I mean?
Well, why did you eat the lunch?
Why? Because it's lunch. It's school lunch.
Okay.
I mean, you don't rush to go to the cafeteria and be like, I'm gonna get that school lunch. You know what I mean? Because it just really wasn't. It really wasn't quality food, at least to my standards. It didn't what I was eating at home.
Right.
You know,
well, which is why the dinner started. I know when we were doing the musical Meatless Monday, we started with Northwestern High School, you know, and the green dinners. And the principal up there, you know, and he was 45. He loved that whole idea of bringing this concept into his school. We're bringing the dinner. The parents are trying it, and then they want to learn more about what's going on. So I like that approach, adopting a school. Absolutely. I mean, Willie, what's your thought? Like, how do we?
I think I'll advocate whatever. You can bring it to Park Heights. I mean, there are enough schools. And I think from a strategic standpoint, hey, I don't want to get into the details, but the first thing I think about Monday is that's the day that people don't come to school. So if you look at Tuesday or Wednesday, that might be a better day. But I think it's something to try to consider, at least to showcase meatless options throughout the day in the school system. I don't think that contradicts what we know about at the macro level that says that the USDA has to have this, that, and the other. But it's something that
my daughter goes to a private school, and her school is a vegetarian school, and they're doing it. The New Century School is on South Ann Street, and they've been doing it for years. So if they can do it, why can't we do it? They have the plant-based milk options in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't cost. How much does it cost? What's the difference between, you know, adding some silk milk or whatever? I don't know. So it can be done. It's being done at a school in Baltimore.
Well, it's the policy. Private schools are easier to influence. But like I said, I think if the movement and the conversation is there, it will require forcing them to adjust so that we can get the outcomes that we're talking about. And once we get the young people looking forward to whatever those that drumming that you have over there, then you have expectation beyond. If they're excited about it, I think we can change the policy. But right now, the policies are stacked against us because it didn't start yesterday. This is USDA. This is the beef industry. This is everybody who's been paying politicians, and we can't forget that.
Right. It's capitalism. That's what it's always about, the money and the power. Okay, well, we got to do the best we can do with this, because we can do something. We can definitely make moves. We've been making moves. So we just got to move a little harder and put a little bit more pressure.
Now, there's some natural allies, though, because I don't think 4-H is popular in public schools in Baltimore, but 4-H is designed to influence the parents through the children. That was the strategy of 4-H. So if there's a framework there that we could use that's already in place to influence it beyond what we have in capacity currently. So that should be on the table as well. And I don't think that considering everything, they would be very happy to have urban America to light up with support of 4-H throughout the country.
I like that. And you talked to me about that before. June is National Fresh Vegetables and Fruits Month. And I kind of want to, we're in this pandemic, I know, but I kind of want to get something going. So once this thing is lifted, we at least have some grounding on what we're trying to do. I think now is the best time to really have, you know, these meetings on what's the next thing. Farajii, we going to do the committee. Willie, we going to do 4-H and let's go. You know, we need to be having these conversations like immediately so we can make these moves and strategize. And then, you know, Keith, you know, where you fit into that equation, you know, in the hip hop tip, because, you know, the message is through hip hop and listening to this trap crap. but let's get the conscious stuff out there. You know what I'm saying? So, we love our music, so.
Well, that's a good month because the kale and all the brassicas are at their peak in June. Between like May and June, that's when they're at their peak. So that's a good month, and it'll be a very delicious month. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, great. Any last word? When we're down to our 5 minutes, and this has been a great discussion. We definitely stirring apart the pot, the churches. I want to know like where we're at with that, because we definitely need the church involved. We got so many churches across the city of Baltimore, across the country. They definitely need to be all hands on deck with this, especially if they're growing. So we got to have an idea of what's going on with that, so we can get access there, access to Park Heights. Crystal, you got Farm Alliance and Food Rescue Baltimore. Farajii, you got the connects, all the connects. And Keith, you got, the strategy of bringing or disseminating information and picking best practices from all the cities that you're working with, right? Yeah. So, and then you have me, of course, I'm multi-talented and I'm a connector. So I think we did some good work here. I think people see that we are serious. I know they may be disappointed about what Farajii said about everybody's not going vegan, because we want you to go vegan, because we know the benefits to the environment, the animals, and to your health when you're doing it properly.
But you know what? I mean, the big thing is we're just trying to motivate. I mean, we got to start where people are. And I think one of the big misperception is like when I tell people I'm vegan, they are ready for me to attack them about their food choices. And I'm like, I'm not here for that.
I blame that on the vegans.
I don't do that. I don't do that.
Oh, man, don't get with Farajii. They like want to slide over, move the plate over a little bit and stuff. I'm like, bro, you can eat what you want, but let me just teach you so you can make the decision on your own. People want the power to make their own decisions.
Right, especially our people, because we've been told what to do for so long that we're like the hardest population. You're just not coming in here telling me what to do, and I done been colonized and all of that.
And if you look at it, if a person is able to get to this space on their own, they're more likely to stick with it for a very long time versus somebody jamming you about it and imposing their will on you. No, you do you. At some point, you're going to learn that if Tyson, Smithfield, and all of these meat packing plants are having issues from the quality of their meats, the healthiness of their meats, and all of these things, that at some point it's going to get into the food. It's going to affect your mood. It's going to affect how you're growing. It's going to affect how your body is operating. So I don't need to tell you all of those things. I can just provide you the guidance and then let it be what it is.
Yeah, and can I add something really quickly?
Yes, please add. That's what this is about.
So we created a Black farmer directory on our website. It's Black Church.
What's your website, please?
It's blackchurchfoodsecurity.net. And our Black farmer directory lists all of the farmers that we have within our network on the East Coast. So if you want to take this time to buy food, produce, fruits, vegetables directly from farmers, their contact information is up there, as well as their growing practices are listed on the Black Farmer Directory and their current inventory. So I think this will be a great opportunity for you to get to know your farmer and ask those key questions about how the food is grown, if the food is processed, how is it processed. So I just want to add that in the spirit of meeting people where they are. Just start with asking those key questions to your farmers and get to know your farmer.
Also wanted to add
that's what we do at the Black Vet Society of Maryland. Meet them where they are.
I also want to add this in regard to the strategy of outreach is that when we have these conversations, we always leave out the recovery houses, which there are a lot of in Baltimore City. And if we could pitch to the recovery houses, because you can control the food there as well, to do a meatless Monday or whatever, that would go a long way to showcase a change in people who are a captive audience for this type of information.
Yeah,
I like that. This has been good. Any Any last words? I've showed hashtags, but if there's any websites you want me to post, I think Willie, I didn't get yours. How can people get in touch? Is it at PCH or PCA? Oh, how can they get?
PHCHA. You can also go to NAACP, Maryland NAACP.org.
Okay, Maryland NAACP.org, and then at PCA Park Heights
PHCHA.org.
All right, awesome. That's Willie's connections there. Yeah, so I'm gonna be making those phone calls to you. Not today, it's the weekend, but we're gonna get on this next week. We're gonna start working on this plan so we can get a move on this. I appreciate you all taking the time. I want to thank Jane Unchained News for allowing us this platform, and our sponsors, the Welfare World, Veg Fund, and Women Funders and Animal Rights. If it wasn't for them, this wouldn't be possible on this platform here, maybe outside on the phone somewhere. But this is going to be replayed, uploaded, so it'll be out there for everybody to see and get in contact with us if they want to get involved, because we're going to need all the help we need. We're going to need all the help we can get with this, because this is a serious issue. We need to save our community and kind of close the gap on these health disparities. Definitely. I appreciate you all. Love you. Be well and be safe. Again, no problem. Have a good one.
You too.